In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to write a relevant and substantive comment to the SEC for their overreaching proposed rules, and the IRS as well, so that you can do it for yourself. And by the end of this video, you're going to have all the knowledge you need to actually make a difference in the crypto ecosystem. You can change the landscape of crypto legislation and regulation, at least in the United States of America. You have the power to make your voices heard, and you can do that by leaving a comment that's both relevant and substantive. And you got to be smart about this, okay? So pay attention to this video very closely, because if you do it right, you could actually impact the outcome and change reality for the better. But if you do it wrong, you could make everybody look stupid, including yourself. And at the very worst, you'll just be irrelevant if you write something silly like F you, guzzler. You know, let's not do that. Let's be smart, sophisticated, calm, cool, collected. But it's easy. Guys, it could not be easier. We have AI now. We have Claude.ai. We have Bing AI, which I hear is pretty good. I'm going to be using Claude.ai for my example right here, and I'm just going to walk you through it step by step in case anybody is confused. All right, it all starts from the original tweet here from Mr. Richard Hart, okay? He's outlined everything for us. He's done almost all of the work for everybody already. He gave you the link. You really don't need any more than this, but some people do. Some people are wondering, how do I submit a comment? What do I do? What do I say? Well, it helps if you have some original thoughts of your own, but using AI is just a way to elaborate and make that comment or thought of yours more professional sounding, or, you know, helps you speak the language of legalese or the language of the three-letter agencies that we're trying to write to make our voices heard. Now look, you go over to Richard's comments over here, okay, go over to Richard's tweets, and I'll post these links on the description below. But on Twitter from October 10th, I'm talking about this tweet. Let's dive in. He's reposted it a second time because this is really important to do. It's more important than people think. Rather than sitting around arguing like little school children on the internet, we could actually make a difference and push the needle forward in terms of progress for all of crypto and really all of the world. Because blockchains are free speech, it's a protected human right. Publishing to a blockchain is just basically speaking. And when free speech gets suppressed, that's when society starts to go downhill a little bit. So look, you've got the links right here. There's one comment, one proposed rule change from the SEC. There's one proposed rule change from the IRS. And then there's a third one in which they reopened the comment period. Even though it technically expired, they reopened the comment period. I'm going to go after the third one just for the sake of the example. I've already submitted comments, but guess what, guys? Here's the crazy part. You can submit more than one comment. You can make more than one email address. First of all, I'd recommend everybody watching just go ahead and make a Proton Mail account. It's really, really easy. Create a free Proton Mail account. It couldn't be easier. Okay, you can use your existing Gmail. You can use, maybe you've got multiple Gmails or Yahoo or whatever. Proton Mail is an encrypted email that's safe and secure. It's one of my favorites, and you can have multiple accounts, okay? That is a possible thing to do. Just going to leave that out there. The SEC on this one. This rule, you know, to me, this one irks me even a little more than the first rule. This rule seems more dangerous. Number 3, to me, it seems even more dangerous than number 1. Really, number 2 seems like the most dangerous, but they're all bad, okay? They all infringe upon human rights, or at least they can. They can infringe upon our freedoms, not only in America, but worldwide. And that's one more thing, too. You don't have to live in America to do this, okay? You can do this wherever you are in the world. The SEC, the IRS, they should listen to anybody's comments. If you have a strong thought, a strong opinion, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. So don't say to yourself, oh, I live in Ireland, there's no need for me to do this. It takes 20 minutes or less. You know, it takes like 15 minutes. So if you're in crypto and you want to foster an ecosystem of innovation and freedom, then you want to pay attention and maybe consider doing this, okay? You don't have to, but a lot of people are asking how. I'm going to click on this right here, federalregister.gov. This is the proposed rule change for changing the definition of the word exchange. Now, the cool thing about this is you don't even have to really read the whole thing. And if you do want to read it, there are a couple of interesting points here. Like, for example, DeFi trading systems. They're trying to attack DeFi, and long story short is they're trying to say that every decentralized exchange counts as a trading platform. And so that they also fall under the umbrella of the term exchange, which is absolute nonsense, which I'm going to explain why in a minute. But look, if you want to, you can just copy the URL. Okay, copy the URL in the top of your browser, go on over to Claude.ai, slap it in there, create a free account, okay, on Claude.ai, and just paste it, or ask for a summary, right? You could just say, summarize this proposed SEC rule briefly, okay, and then you paste the link, right? So I pasted the link down here. I didn't even have to ask it to summarize, okay? Claude just knew, you know, this is the second rule that I wanted to summarize. It already knew that I wanted a summary just when I posted that in there. So look, here's some of the key points from the SEC's supplemental information regarding the changing definition of exchange under the Securities Exchange Act. The purpose is to provide additional guidance And clarification on proposed amendments. The background is that it aims to update the definition of exchange to address platforms that trade securities but may not meet the definition of a regulated exchange. The new guidance discusses how certain blockchain/DLT, that stands for digital ledger technology, platforms may fall under the exchange definition. This particular rule also provides analysis of factors to determine if a system meets the requirement of definition, which, in my opinion, are broad and overreaching. Way too broad, causing not only a nightmare for innocent citizens trying to become sovereign individuals and just live a normal life in America, but also a bureaucratic nightmare for the SEC having to govern every single individual, which could now be looked at as in my opinion, as an exchange. Like, am I a walking and talking and breathing exchange just because I am using decentralized software that anybody can run through any front end, any website? Anybody that runs this software is the exchange. The exchange isn't a single place. It's not a single entity. It exists in a decentralized way. And so because of that, these proposed rules are going to have a hard time applying to something that's really decentralized. So you can't apply rules that were made in the 1930s, to address centralized companies. Okay, Coinbase, Kraken, sure, I understand. Those are centralized exchange agencies. Uniswap, PulseX, Uniswap. Who runs them? There's no exchange there. There really is. A decentralized exchange arguably is not even an exchange. Okay, a decentralized exchange, that's a new idea that I just thought of. You could call it something totally different. I mean, you can go back to what Richard Hart said. It's just publishing software. I want to publish some numbers on a decentralized exchange and swap one set of numbers for another set of numbers and exchange data. So maybe a decentralized exchange is better formatted as a data exchange. Not a money exchange. It's purely a data exchange. I'm going to go with that one for the video just because I'm thinking out loud. Do you see how easy it is to come up with ideas? You just start thinking out loud and just, think about it. But look, reading the summary here will give you that. It'll spark that thought. Okay, so as you're reading the summary, come up with your own. And by the way, guys, don't just copy everything I do here. If the SEC gets a whole bunch of emails that all say the same thing with the same comments, same topic, if you just copy somebody else and don't think and have an original thought, you're not going to make any progress because they're just going to see, oh, it's the same comment. They're just going to throw it out. If they've had to read the same comment 100 times, well, then they're going to throw out your comment. Your comment means nothing, okay? Also, it clarifies that securities using smart contracts could still be subject to exchange requirements. Right, so this is conflating two things. First of all, they're implying that everything's a security, which it hasn't been proven or decided on, or they haven't made any rules regarding that. But let's say there are securities tokens out there, tokenized real-world assets. We know Larry Fink is a fan of that concept, the CEO of Rocca Negra. Using smart contracts could still be subject to exchange requirements, and that might make sense. If you have an explicitly outlined securities contract, maybe the trading of such a contract should meet exchange requirements, of course, when you're on an exchange. So if you're trading a security on an exchange, we've already got these concepts down. These are not new concepts. If you're trading a securities token on a registered exchange, again, like exchanges we know, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Crypto.com, that all the rules are still defined for that in my eyes. But if I want to take this security token data and trade it over on a smart contract, it just becomes a data transfer. I'm trading one data set for another data set. I'm updating a balance on a public blockchain that anyone can see. I'm a publisher, right? So if the SEC overreaches on their definition of exchange, okay, to include everything such as blockchain publishing, that's like saying that anyone that prints a newspaper or anyone that prints an article online is now an exchange because they're exchanging words, they're exchanging ideas, okay? We're just exchanging data here. Exchanging blockchain data is not the same thing as exchanging securities, which are clearly defined from the 1930s, which are, traditional finance on traditional exchanges. We need new laws and new regulation and stop trying to retrofit, laws that were created like the Howey test in the 30s to a brand new asset class. So in my opinion, these simply will not work. I'm going to make a comment. It also shows you the implications, right? There's a request for comment that the SEC reopens, and the implications are to provide more clarity on when crypto trading platforms may be considered exchanges. Well, I say if they're centralized entities, they can be considered an exchange. But if not, then not. Because they're trying to kill DeFi with this one. Guys, they're trying to lump anyone that uses Uniswap into an exchange, which is why Uniswap X has bent the knee. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. There's a lot of people just rolling over to do whatever the government says, but you can actually have a voice in fighting back against that, okay, which is what I'm showing you right now. Now, it's very easy to use AI. I just copy-pasted the SEC proposed rule in Claude.ai. Then I copy-pasted it again, and I said, I asked the magical AI overlords, what are some dangers to digital assets within the proposed SEC rules? This is, if you're reading the summary and you don't already have ideas or qualms, or if you don't have a bone to pick already about a relative and substantive comment, well, why don't you just ask AI to list out some of the dangers of digital assets? And they will tell you. This could be dangerous in the following ways. Scope of coverage. They could be going too broad in their scope. Restrictions on decentralization. I agree with that. Reduced innovation, as we've already seen a lot of crypto innovation leaving the United States. Fragmented liquidity. So if crypto exchanges in the US are, subject to different rules than crypto exchanges overseas, then it could limit the efficiency that blockchain promises to basically allow. Security risks, okay? By mandating centralizing control and oversight, you'll have more vulnerabilities because with people collecting so much data and monitoring, the best way to keep people's data safe is to not have it at all. So by mandating that people keep track of all these blockchain transactions happening on a decentralized publishing platform, a data publishing exchange, in my mind, in my proposed rule, you increase security risks because you create a new honeypot for people to steal data from, for bad actors. Russia, China, whatever the boogeyman of the day is. Uncertainty for stakeholders, right? Vague language creates uncertainty for developers and investors and platforms, and stifled competition. So again, you don't really want to just copy and paste whatever AI gives you. Okay, you can do that, but the more the SEC has to read through the same old recycled, regurgitated, 5 bullet points, the less effective you're going to be. So if you try to take a new angle on things, it might be a little bit better. Now, my angle is not crazy. It's not groundbreaking, not revolutionary. It's just I'm going to use it for the sake of the example. All right. And look, if you're really, really lazy, AI is awesome. It lets you be very, very lazy. Look, I even asked it, please write a relevant and substantive comment regarding the scope of coverage that the new SEC rule being way too broad and that every person using the smart contract could then be seen as an exchange. They write it all for you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a comment on the SEC exchange definition, blah, blah, blah. Look, you can copy and paste this whole thing and just email it to the SEC. All right. You can do that. Or you can copy and paste this. Check it out. We're going to make this our own. We used AI to help. And then we click on Google Docs. We can go ahead and create a new document. I think they even have AI baked into Google Docs these days. It's pretty crazy. Like Google will finish your sentences for you. It's awesome. Crazy life in 2023, huh? Now look, you should read this over too because you don't want the AI to have said anything stupid or irrelevant that maybe goes against your point. AI has this funny tendency of disagreeing with you and saying, well, as an AI language model, I agree with the SEC and their rules aren't actually that bad. So you really got to kind of work with it. You got to massage it. You got to explain and be polite about it too. Don't just ask AI, hey, tell me why this rule sucks. Because AI will say, as a language model, I am not in the position to be taking a stance against the SEC. And in fact, I actually agree that these are good rules. So you got to just use language that the computer doesn't read as overly emotional. Okay. Now look, this paragraph here is about exchanges being detrimental to innovation. I'm just going to delete this here and I'm going to say, I'm going to propose my idea that decentralized exchanges, aka DeFi, should actually be looked at as perhaps a data exchange platform and not a securities exchange platform, especially before the securities laws are finalized. Let me just type that up really quick and we'll fast forward through that. All right, here's a paragraph I just typed up just to make it kind of my own, so I'm not just copying and pasting AI. Look, something they probably haven't read, something AI it probably wouldn't spit out, okay? I suggest that DeFi platforms such as Uniswap are not exchange platforms, rather they are decentralized software that anybody is able to run. I propose a better way to classify DEXs is as a data exchanger. Before assuming all digital assets traded on a DEX are securities, it is best to assume that each individual is merely publishing data to a blockchain. This decentralized exchange data is no different than the way the internet currently works. Are Facebook Marketplace or eBay now considered a financial exchange subject to the same rules simply because they exchange data? Online marketplaces like eBay trade data representing physical and digital goods and are not regulated as a financial exchange. Tokenized real-world assets or virtual assets on a blockchain being traded on a DEX are conceptually no different. All right, you can make this your own. Just type up your own words. And then look, AI will help you. It finalizes with another suggestion that the definition be narrowly tailored to centralized entities, like centralized exchanges, where regulation is far more feasible and appropriate. Right? I agree with all this. I'm reading what AI spat out, but I'm agreeing with all of it because it captured the point I was trying to make. Clarification is needed that ordinary users of decentralized protocols do not automatically constitute exchanges. So if I make a website or if I use a DEX, it's not the same thing as using a centralized exchange entity, which we have clear rules for. And to finalize, a moderate, nuanced approach to amending the exchange definition would enable regulatory oversight where appropriate without undermining innovation. I hope the SEC strongly considers these concerns and feedback as it aims to strike the right regulatory balance. Thank you for the opportunity. Look, nice and polite, right? Nice and polite, nice and professional. I'd go ahead and I'd copy this over on my Proton Mail account. I'd sign into Proton Mail. Boom. Here we go. Now we're at the very end of the video. It's the final part where you're able to actually submit your comment. You need to submit the comment because you're not able to on the website. So you need to submit it to rule-comments@sec.gov. And guys, the instructions are all on here, okay? If you read this, read the rules for submitting your comment. Send an email to rule/comments@sec.gov. You go over here, copy this email address, paste it over here in the to field, okay? The subject line needs to have, this is very important, it needs to include file number S7-02-22. Every comment has a different file number, okay? Include this file number on the subject line. Do not forget that, otherwise they might not read it, okay? So look, I've got public comment for reopened rule S7-02-22. This is very, very important that you do this. You need to be sending the email here. You need to make sure that this file number is in the subject line. You need to send it to rule-comments@sec.gov. Don't forget that. And then what, guys? We just go over here, copy our Google Doc, where we wrote the email. We copy that right here. And we click send. Send. There you go, guys. Sent it. Pretty easy, right? Yay, we did it. So that's how you do it, guys. You just go to the website, open up AI. You can ask AI to summarize the website for you, summarize the proposed rule. As you're reading the summary, think about where things could possibly go wrong and why this proposed rule or these 3 proposed rules might not be a good idea. Use AI to construct a valid criticism against these proposed rules, and you can even influence it using some of your own unique angles, coming at it from a different point of view. Everybody with their own collective different point of view actually can make a difference, and we could have better tax laws, better securities laws, and better future regulation allowing for open innovation and free speech and freedom of expression, at least in the USA, and this will have ripple effects worldwide as well. So again, if you're not in America, don't feel like you don't even have a voice, because they got to read it regardless, okay? I hope you learned something on this video. I do have a brand new course out for onboarding people into the Pulse Chain ecosystem. Check that out if you're an absolute beginner to Pulse Chain. This course is for you. And if you're more advanced, there is a referral bonus as well. So check that out, all at hexpassiveincome.com. And of course, check out the description below for all the useful links that I talked about in this video. Comment, share. It all helps the algo. It helps you, help me, help everybody else. We'll see you on the next video.